pit demon. Absolute pit of hell. This is what you've signed on to. Preemptive war, all of it. This is what happens. This is what the Nazis did. This is what the communist Chinese did and do. This is what the psycho armies want. And we've shown you internal memos where in Texas they say, we're only hiring former military right now. Do not distribute this memo. Remember that we were sent that 4 months ago. It says right now we've been directed to only focus on military. I guess you might be able to get hired if you're not former military. But again, not just regular military. They have tests they give them that if you're damaged goods, you're going to get the job. And you're going to wage war against the American people. That's what they want. That's why I have New York Times. Don't believe me? Just type in scouts trained to fight terrorists and more. And the first line says, the 14-year-olds trained to kill disgruntled veterans. In this drill, the Iraq vet is holed up. They quickly move in and take him out. You can see the photos of him training to kill veterans. Because, you see, they want the PTSD 4, 5, 6 tour violent, fearless people to join their ranks, but they also know that there's going to be giant groups who aren't turned over to evil, but are just as tough or tougher, who are going to then fight the forces of evil. But there's also going to be a third group, people that just go off the rails who don't get hired as cops or whatever. And that's like this guy. And when I get to, after the Obama, I'll show you this article. We'll put it on screen. Massive manhunt after Ranger slain in Rainier. We'll pull this up for later. And it says he's a former several tours, Marines. And there was supposedly a shootout at a party, so he ran with his body armor and everything, reportedly to the local national park. They set up a roadblock. He got out, opened fire. More police showed up, and they sat there for hours while the park ranger bled to death because he was shooting at him. And now there's hundreds of federal police and others on the scene, and they're basically cowering a day later, afraid to go after him. Okay, now, what's going to happen when you start secretly arresting people and you start going out and trying to confiscate guns? 150 million, it's more like 200 million now. There's a massive armament going on. Millions of it, more like 2 million. They're saying 1.5 million plus background checks in the month of December, all-time record. Most sales are going on privately. You got 400 plus million guns out there. You've got all of this happening, all of this unfolding. And what's going to happen when the government, run by these criminal bankers who are sitting offshore, try to march the police and military off in asymmetrical warfare to take people's guns and to take political prisoners away? If 1% fights back, that's 1,500,000 of this guy. And I'm not saying he's a good guy. He late night party, got drunk, started, some kind of fight happened, shootout began, just like Poplawski. Drunk, gets home, has another pit bull urinating all over the carpet. His mother says, get out of here. She says, she calls the police. He shoots and kills 3 of them. The point is that you train these people to just mow Iraqis down all day and laugh at dead kids and kill dogs and murder people and do all this. Of course they've got record suicides, all-time records. Of course they're coming home. They had one Delta Force wing, or squadron as they call them, 5 years ago, in one weekend, killed 4 families. Well, in one case, the family got away and he burned the house down. And when the police pulled up, this was in the news. They're outside Fort Benning, was flopping around, foaming at the mouth. You pull up, the house is burning, the person is flopping around. They're so demonically possessed, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, look, you sow hell, you reap Armageddon. You get into evil and corruption and think it's cute and sexy and fun. It isn't. The wages of the New World Order is thermonuclear war, biological weapons, imploding bank accounts, starvation, death, and everything that leads up to it. And I'll actually read over the article later. I mean, there's a photo of him here, where he's got his different guns. and his shirt off, and, he's the big, tough guy, and now they're going to send a bunch of other people just like him after him. And hundreds of local police and the feds are in the article admitting they're not going after him because they're scared. What, you're scared of somebody that'll actually shoot back at you? You're scared of another psychopath? Oh, if it's hitting some old lady who you're taking the cash out of their purse? It's hitting some, 16-year-old kid you found some marijuana on, so you go ahead and beat him up and send him to jail? You mean this is somebody like you? What do you think's going to happen when they try to march you off against real Americans, real human beings? What do you think's going to happen? You think 1% is going to fight you? Numbers I've looked at and studied, about 10% are going to fight. You know what 10% of 150 million is? You know what that is? It's 15 million. 15 million people conservatively are going to fight. And we have to avert this disaster. We do not want this to start up. We do not want this to happen, because that's one of the false flags the New World Order can run, is marching the police and military off into a conflict and to create a civil war here in the United States. That's actually in the IMF and World Bank documents. All right, I was just going to mention some of the news coming up. I've pretty much already started getting into it. And I've got page after page of notes on the NDAA and just how big it is and just how important it is and just what it means to our society and how it's going to be implemented and how it's going to be rolled out. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to reset because I'm pretty wound up from being gone a couple days. I'm going to come back and take your phone calls until the bottom of the hour, next hour. And then I'm going to get into the NDAA in total detail. I did all this research last night and this morning and got all my ducks in a row. And tonight we're really having a special report on it that'll be highly produced, where we've got all the clips and even more proof tonight on the nightly news. 7 o'clock Central. But we'll take your calls on the NDAA, all of this. There's a lot of good police and military who aren't psychopaths, who haven't been twisted to the dark side. And we don't need to be like the American people and the police and military, like pit bulls they put in an arena to kill each other, or a cockfight. We need to be smarter than this and realize who the enemy is, the New World Order, the private banking cartel. Coming up later in the next hour, Huntsman has put out a new attack ad on Ron Paul, using clips of him on C-SPAN talking about a New World Order, skull and bones, and a clip from Endgame where he quotes George Bush Sr. He says, George Bush Sr. called for a New World Order. What's weird is they all call for a New World Order. Al Gore, Bill Clinton, all of them. They say a New World Order is a global corporate government. And then Ron Paul says, I don't want a global corporate private government run by mega banks. And they go, oh my gosh, he's crazy. He's quoting George W. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, calling for it. And they think that their supporters are that big of an idiot that as long as they sit there and deny that this stuff is going on, that people won't realize what's happening. Now, look, I can't play all of these here because there's cuss words on them and things. And you've pretty much got to be watching to be able to see it. But here's the latest article out showing what the military is doing. Disturbing video that shows U.S. soldiers blowing up a dog in Iraq for fun. And again, this is not the majority of the troops. But it's like when you see that Apache helicopter shoot up that car full of kids, they kind of laugh about it and say, well, shouldn't bring kids to a battle. It wasn't a battle. It was middle of a city. It was Reuters reporters with their kids. And then people defended that on the radio. They defend torture on the radio. Well, this is what torture is. Let's go ahead and play part of that clip. And again, there's just a dog. It's in a city on the side of the road. They've put some food out for it next to a bomb. And the audio's not good, but you can hear them talking about it. Oh, come on, puppy, puppy. They make sweet, fake sweet noises to it. Come on, kid, get in the car. And Cousin's coming up. They start celebrating and getting off on it. Let's go ahead. That's enough right there. So they blow up the dog and have a big celebration. Now, here's another video that I mentioned where Michelle Malkin and others said I was a liar. In fact, some blogs and groups, neocon groups, said that we might have even produced it. That it was a robot dog. Anybody who's ever had a dog knows you pick one up by the back of the scruff of the neck. It pulls its little legs up. You can see it's a real puppy. And they throw it off a cliff. And the Marines did an investigation, said, yes, it was true. But notice, people don't get upset about Iraqi kids being killed. That's manly and good. It's a dog, because dogs haven't been dehumanized yet. There's more value in an animal in our culture. You know, my dad was coming over to do some .22 shooting with my children yesterday. And I said, well, everything's closed today. But I said, will you go to Walmart and buy some of those box targets, those styrofoam targets, you know, with squirrels and stuff on them? And he said, yeah. And when he was leaving Walmart, he got lectured by the old lady, please don't shoot squirrels and crows. And he said, well, it's for target practice. And the point is, she had to lecture him. You know, this is all this anti-gun culture that's out there. But side issue, they care about animals, but not about humans. That's part of the dehumanization. Let's go to this next clip. Here they are with the puppy, enjoying themselves and throwing it off the cliff.
Cute little puppy, huh?
Oh, so cute little puppy.
Oh, a trick. Oh.
And then there's a celebration, but we can't play the cussing. So, again, face your crimes. You want preemptive war? You want police state? The Constitution's bad? Enjoy the fruits. Abortion isn't bad? Enjoy the fruits. Vaccines aren't bad? Enjoy the fruits. We'll be back with your calls.
What's up with these sorry politicians? Lots of bark, but when it's showtime, whimpering like little shih tzus. You want big cuts? Ron Paul's been screaming it for years. Budget crisis? No problem. Got $1 trillion year one. That's trillion with a T. Department of Education? Gone. Interior, Energy, HUD, Commerce? Gone. Later, bureaucrats. That's how Ron Paul rolls. Want to drain the swamp? Ron Paul. Do it.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.